Straight ahead on CCX News, two sides of the jobs picture. From construction jobs in demand to a surge of retiring seniors. But first, an early look at plans that would dramatically change Robbinsdale's restaurant scene. CCX News starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. Big changes could be on the way for a popular Robbinsdale restaurant.
Yeah, we've learned that the owners of Travail are considering building a brand new space. According to Robbinsdale city officials, Performance Meals building on West Broadway would be torn down to make way for a brand new $1 million building to be used by Travail. The main kitchen and restaurant would be on the first floor, and the second level would have more seating and open into an exterior terrace.
We're pretty excited about having a rooftop and giving people the ability to hang out on top of a building downtown Robbinsdale.
Travail owners are asking the city to finance the removal and demolition of the old building. Travail will also apply for a grant from Hennepin County to cover some of the costs to get the site ready for redevelopment. Plans are very preliminary, but if everything goes as planned, Pig Ate My Pizza would move into the current Travail spot, and then the owner of Marna's would open a new restaurant where Pig Ate My Pizza is now located.
In other news, candidates for Osseo Superintendent are once again on the hot seat as the final two completed another round of interviews on Tuesday. Both candidates have prior military experience. ERICK PRUITT, an area superintendent of Houston schools, worked his way up after starting out as a first grade teacher in Chicago. James Harris worked in business before transitioning to education and is now a superintendent of a district outside of Philadelphia.
Education is complex. The achievement gap is complex. There's no silver bullet to solving the issues around the achievement gap. And so you need a team that has the grit in order to continue to work.
The best question an employee can ask is, why do we do things that way? I ask that all day long, because that question invites a conversation that desperately needs to happen.
The school board received a large amount of public input and will reconvene on Wednesday to discuss that feedback. The school board hopes to extend an offer and complete contract negotiations with the preferred finalist by the end of the month.
In the Wayzata School District, the Plymouth City Council has approved plans for a new elementary school that would be located on County Road 101 along the Medina border. The new school would serve more than 800 students from pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. And the look of the new building will be virtually identical to Meadow Ridge Elementary, which opened in 2016. At Cooper High School, students from across the Twin Cities learned about construction jobs.
As Eric Nelson reports, a trades expo highlights a problem in the construction industry, and that's trying to find enough workers.
Okay, you're going to stand the same direction I am, just like me. There you go.
The construction business wants young faces.
I'm going to furrow it out like that. I'll put it down there. Nice. Look at how you just laid itself almost.
The industry is graying, which is why they were recruiting high school students at today's expo.
52 years old is the average age of a construction worker, and they're retiring out, and we just don't have people coming in to replace it.
The event was dubbed Construct Tomorrow.
So you're going to open up the jaw. We're going to center that right in the center of the jaw.
And almost every profession of the construction industry was on hand.
And then as you're taking it off, you lift up as you go.
Making their pitch to kids.
The day of the dumb construction worker does not exist anymore. These are all highly skilled trades.
We never know what kids we reach when we come here, but we know that this is a way for the trades to get in front of kids, and it is a viable option for them.
More than 600 students were at the expo learning about bricklaying.
There you go.
Pipe fitting.
So I want you to take the T and stick it on there.
There you go, very good.
Concrete work.
And pick it up as you go.
And other phases of the business.
I didn't know anything about any of these fields. I just got knowledge of multiple different fields of work.
Well, I like laying the brick, using my hands, getting my hands dirty.
Nice.
The experts at the expo emphasize that construction can be a lucrative career.
Some of these kids, when you tell them what we can make in a year, their eyes get really big because they have no idea.
When they come into an apprenticeship, they earn while they learn, and when they complete their apprenticeship and turn out to a journey level worker, they don't have any student loans to repay.
The construction industry is also a profession where you can see tangible results of your labor.
They have concrete evidence of what they've done that day.
In New Hope, I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
A 2017 survey of 40 construction firms in Minnesota found that nearly 80% were having a hard time filling positions.
More Minnesotans will turn 65 in the next decade than in the past 4 decades combined. In fact, the State Demographic Office says in 12 years, 1 in 5 Minnesotans will be 65 or older. So what will all those people do to keep busy? Well, an employment expert urged seniors attending the Dynamic Aging Resource Fair in Brooklyn Park to stay in the game somehow after retirement. Katherine Johnson says they're at the apex of their experience and talent, and doing nothing is not really an option.
And even if you retire from your job, you don't retire from life. You don't retire from relationships. You don't retire from being the best you that you can be. And that's what that's all about today.
Johnson started a company called Career Code, which helps workers find out the kind of job that's a good fit. And she says many don't find that until later in life. Well, this week is Severe Weather Awareness Week in Minnesota.
On Thursday, we will get a reminder of that when the tornado sirens are tested. The sirens will sound at 1:45 p.m. Thursday and then again at 6:45 p.m. While severe weather is often in the summer with tornadoes, hail, and lightning, there is an immediate threat of flooding this spring depending on how much rain we get.
We get a little bit of snow melting, some falling rain, and the ground's still frozen, nothing's growing, so potential for that runoff that could cause the rivers to rise.
Jacob BEITLICH with the National Weather Service says this month has already been unusual. The first 9 days of April were the coldest on record in the Twin Cities area, and that surpasses the old record set back in 1936.
Still ahead, we meet a standout student from Maple Grove who has come a long way from her childhood in Liberia.
Plus, the Armstrong Baseball team is hoping to make a run to the state tournament this season. We'll have a preview.
But first, the warmest day of the week on Thursday. Temperatures in the 50s. This week's standout student knows how to handle adversity.
In Maple Grove High School's Joy Tia is a compassionate student leader who has learned valuable life skills through experience.
We'll do a quick review of Chapter 21, half of it, first half.
In Mr. Leon's AP World History class, Joy Tia's bright colors catch your eye. But it's the story of this Maple Grove junior that stands out.
At the beginning, when I first came, it was kind of a change from what I was learning back in Liberia.
Born and raised in Liberia, Joy was visiting family in the United States in 2014 when the Ebola crisis broke out. Her parents returned to Liberia, and 14-year-old Joy stayed here with family.
I think anybody who comes from another country and tries to make a home in a new place knows what it's like to start over, you know, and have to learn everything again.
No one has to teach this 16-year-old to be empathetic to others. She serves as a student guide, showing new students the way forward.
I remember when I first came here, I didn't have a student guide at all. It was I went to 4th hour 2 times in a row, and it was crazy because I didn't have no one to help me.
Joy Tia has come a long way in a short time.
She's just an excellent student, a student you would want multiples in your classroom.
Joy no longer needs the help of the English Language Learner program. She earns A's and B's in her classes and is a kind and caring student leader with a love for art and fashion. She's happy to talk about the brightly colored fabrics her parents send her from Africa.
So I wear a plain shirt or maybe white or denim to go with the skirt, so the skirt alone stands out.
I think her name, just in general, is so befitting of who she is. She is absolutely a joy to be around.
Though she's still a year away from graduation, Joy Tia wants to go to college and law school. Her teachers know how far she's come, so there's no telling how far this standout student will go.
She's hopeful and she is looking for a challenge. So where some students might meet hardship and give up, she pushes through.
Still ahead, an annual Osseo School District fundraiser inspired by the It's a Wonderful Life movie.
But first, some talented athletes at Champlin Park signed their college letters of intent. John Jacobson has that story next in sports.
Jacobson with sports. The number of NCAA National Letter of Intent signing days has grown in recent years from 2 signing periods a year, November and February, to now 4. November, December for football only, February and April. Well, today at Champlin Park High School, 4 student athletes signed, 2 with Division I programs. Josiah Strong will play basketball at the Naval Academy. Strong led the Rebels in scoring this season. Swimmer Lizzie Zeller, a school record holder and state qualifier, is headed to the Big Ten after signing with Rutgers. Also signing were Jack Denzer, who will play lacrosse at Lourdes University in Ohio, and 3-sport captain Serena Lindell, who will attend the University of Sioux Falls and run both cross country and track. Here's what 2 of the signees had to say this morning.
Yeah, it's really exciting because obviously it's a very difficult school to get into. So the fact that basketball kind of gave me the opportunity to go there is just a great opportunity because I've always wanted to play basketball at Division I level and go to a school that's challenging and give me a good education. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Well, I went on an official visit like late January. And like once I got there and I met the team and the coaches and like the entire faculty and support system, I was just like, this seems right. They're good, like they're super fast, they're Big Ten, and so I know they're gonna push me to be better, and so that's what I'm excited for.
Wayzata High School also hosted a signing ceremony Wednesday morning for men's lacrosse player Brooks Hansen, who is headed to Rockhurst University in Missouri, and Samantha Stevenson, who signed with Ferris State University in Michigan for women's tennis. A 3-year letter winner for the Maple Grove girls basketball team will stay in-state next year to continue her playing career. Crimson senior number 25 Katrina Theis signed to play at St. Cloud State University. Theis was a 3-year letter winner and 2-time all-conference pick for the Crimson. She scored the 3rd most points in a single season for a Maple Grove player this year as a senior. Theis averaged 15.3 points and 7.6 rebounds to help the Crimson win the Northwest Suburban Conference's West Division and Section 8 for a championship this season. The Armstrong Baseball team has made a couple of trips to the state tournament this decade. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Falcons are aiming to get back to state this season.
The Armstrong guys have a good core group to build around as they aim for a trip to the state tournament this spring. It's a group that's worked hard in the offseason to get ready to make a run.
Our captains kind of took it upon themselves to run some after-school activities and get guys going in the offseason early on, get them in the weight room working on plyo work.
The Falcons were 12-12 last spring and won 3 games in Section 6-4A before being eliminated, finishing 3rd in the section. The guys want to follow in the footsteps of the 2014 and 2015 Falcons teams that won section titles.
We're definitely trying to bring the tradition back. You know, the last couple of years we haven't made it out of the section. This year our goal is to win the section, make it to the state tournament.
I think offensively we've kind of embraced this scrappy mentality this year, like years in the past when we made it to the state tournament when we weren't usually the best team, but we had the best baseball mind, where we'd use base running, bunting, and I think this year we're bringing that back because everyone is on the same page and understands that mentality this year.
You know, these guys were around when we made a state tournament run, a couple state tournament runs. Alex was actually on our team as a freshman when we finished 3rd in the state tournament, so they know what it's like, they know what a run looks like, and they're excited to give it their best shot.
Leading the returners are 3rd baseman catcher Braden Gray, one of the better players in the Northwest Suburban Conference. Outfielder Alex Proctor, and middle infielder ERICK Goldman, plus the entire outfield is back. The Falcons made their annual spring trip to Kansas, and the weather wasn't great there either, but it did help.
Yeah, the temp was probably the same when we got back here as it was down there, but there was no snow. We got a chance to get outside, see the ball fly a little bit, and that's always something that's good for them, is just to see the ball fly off their bat rather than into a net.
Armstrong's hoping this season's one that ends with a trip to the state tournament. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
Armstrong's first games were supposed to have been played this week, but have been postponed. They are, as of now, slated to start the Northwest Suburban Conference schedule next Tuesday against Maple Grove. While we're talking about spring sports, comes news from the Minnesota State High School League about modifications to the schedule and games because of the cold and snow. The league announced Wednesday that baseball and softball teams may play doubleheaders consisting of 5-inning games. Single games would still be required to be 7 innings. And because of an anticipated shortage of officials, softball and baseball games may be umpired with fewer officials if a waiver is granted. That's all for sports. Alex and Mike, back to you.
All right, John, thanks so much. Up next, there is no time like showtime.
See what show Osseo School District staff is putting on to help students when we come back.
The Osseo School District is ready and raring to go with its 51st Wastebasket Revue.
Neil Persley has more on this annual performance to benefit students.
The theme of this year's Wastebasket Revue is It's a Wonderful Show, and it borrows bits and pieces from It's a Wonderful Life to provide a wonderful bit of entertainment.
This variety show benefits students in the Osseo School District. It provides scholarship money for students to further along their continuing their education and helps them with tuition and books and everything else like that.
In honor of Dr. McGuire's retirement.
This year's variety show is the 51st production of the review, but will be the last for Kate McGuire as the superintendent of the district.
I actually play myself this year, which is great because then I don't have to rehearse as much and I don't have to practice as much. So there's years that I've been in the show where I get to play the superintendent, and then there's been years in the show where I play a particular character. Probably my favorite was when I played Cher a number of years ago, and I actually sang a little tiny bit.
This is McGuire's 10th year in the review, and like many of the volunteers, there's just something about it that keeps calling them back.
This is about, I think, my 36th or 37th year.
This is my 32nd year.
They're doing something right because so far they've raised over $1.2 million of scholarships for 840 recipients. From Park Center High School, Neil Persley, CCX News.
And this year's Wastebasket Revue runs tonight. That's Wednesday evening through Sunday at the newly renovated Park Center High School Auditorium. And you can get tickets online at wastebasketrevue.org or buy them at the door. If you've never been, it is a great show, and that theater is something to see. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. They raise a lot of money.
Good cause.
It's a great idea.
Exactly. That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
See you back here again tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock.